Okay, go.
Twilight Sparkle had returned to the library, going through her bedroom shelves and cupboards. Now, let's see, where did I hide that key? Spike nearby on the bed, tracing a claw over the woodwork. So, Spike, have anything planned? Went over rarities earlier, but she told me she was too busy to let me hang out, so I guess I'm stuck with you, Spike sighed. I guess it was just never meant to be. Sorry to hear that. I would have just liked to at least had one kiss from her. Well, you still have tonight. Maybe you can do it.
Impromptu.
What?
Impromptu at the last minute.
Impromptu at the last minute, she smirked. At that idea, pulling out the key of her magic from underneath the dresser. Ah, here it is. What are you going to do, Twilight? Heading into the book storage room near the end of the library, using the key to open the old case tucked at the back, amidst boxes of books. Well, I thought I tried my hoof at the dark arts, or you may know it better as black magic. She pulls a large black book from the bookcase, the cover lifted with silver stars and metallic lettering. Spike had followed Twilight as M was looking in the dark storage from the doorway. Isn't this kind of magic forbidden? Twilight trotted back into the main room with the black book in tow, lying it on the reading table. Well, yes, black magic is some of the most powerful magic we unicorns can use, but it's also the most dangerous, and some believe it is corrupted. Kind of what turned Princess Luna into Nightmare Moon. She blows dust off the book and opens it to the first page, but to the first page. I can't read it, I'm sorry. But I am so curious to find out what's inside. It's been eating me away for a while. If the world's gonna end tomorrow, then I can't die without knowing. I'm gonna try some of this out. First rule of black magic: there are no rules. What do you want? Oh, this sounds fun. Spike jumped up on Twilight's back as she flipped through the pages, looking over some of the spells. So what can you do with it? Like cool explosions or mind control? Yeah, something like that. She lifts the book and trots out the door. Better go outside if I'm gonna try out this stuff. Don't want to mess up the library. It's no point. She trotted over the road for a while, walking by the Apple Acres orchards, when Spike started to tug her mane. What is it, Spike? Come on, I want to see some cool explosions. Spike flailed his arms. I want to make sure we're far enough away, that we're far enough that we don't cause anyone harm. Most of these spells are dangerous, and I'm not sure I'll be able to control them. We're already in the middle of nowhere. I don't see any pony around for miles. Well, I suppose you're right. Alright. She pulled the black magic book out and flipped it open. So, you want to see some explosion? You want to see an explosion first, huh? Here we go. The fireball spell. Ooh, this looks pretty easy, actually, but you better stand back just in case. Spike hopped off Twilight's back and stepped away. Twilight began channeling the spell with the horn glowing from the her horn glowing as the ball of energy started to form of it. The ball quickly burst into flames and grew larger. The ball of flame shot up from Twilight's head, slamming into an apple tree, causing it to burst into flames, setting an explosion of cinders into the air. Whoa, that was awesome! Whoops. They weren't kidding about this kind of stuff being powerful. The stuff was powerful. Whatever. Oh, that's only the first page. Felt like I've read like 5 already. She flipped through a couple pages. I think I'm gonna try a more difficult one, she grinned. More explosions just for you, Spike. She closes her eyes and her horn starts glowing. The glow begins to grow brighter and hotter than it did before. Several rocks along the path begin to lift off the ground and float up into the air. As they rose higher and higher, they began to glow white. They begin to glow white, hot as well, but beginning to spin. Twilight groaned as one of the rocks burst into flames and flew into the apple orchard, smashing into trees, causing them into explosions, setting over nearby trees on fire. In matters of minutes, a section of apple acre orchard was in fire. Geez, Twilight, you don't think you're overdoing it? Spike took several steps back. Black smoke billowed up from the trees, starting to spread into the sections of the orchard. The fire quickly grew out of control. Oh, jeez, maybe there's a spell in here that will cause a rainstorm. Twilight flipped through the pages. No. Wait, what's this? She traced her hoover on the page. You can smother flames with earth, right? Maybe if I cast an earthquake spell, the ground will break up the flames. She looked at Spike as if she was the expert. What are you looking at me for? I don't have anything to do. I don't know anything about this black magic mumbo jumbo. Well, I guess it's worth a try. She lowered her head, grunting, as well as her horn glowed up again. A second later, the ground shifted underneath their feet. Twilight yelped and stumbled a bit, moving and causing her to lose concentration and break the spell. Twilight, the fire is spreading. Just hold on, this isn't easy as it looks. She ran over to a large rock.
Hold on.
Alright. Do. 5 freaking pages.
Okay. Continue.
Continuing, she ran over to a large rock she can stand on and jump onto it, setting the book down in front of herself. All right, here goes nothing. She lowered her head and closed her eyes again, the horn lighting up. The ground began to shift again, shaking Spike back and forth, causing him to stumble around. The glow on Twilight's horn burned hotter and hotter. The sparks began to fly from it, the aura of its power growing. The ground shifted, turned violent, and the ground around the rock began to crack and crack and shift, causing large chunks of earth to rise up from the ground. The shifting moved around the apple orchards and caused trees to tumble over. Twilight was able to control where the ground broke and shifted somewhat and localized most of the shifting around the trees where that were ablaze. Trees fell on one another, and great chasms and earthen walls broke up around the flames, isolating them from doing any more damage. All this took several minutes to complete, and when she was done, she collapsed on the rock, gasping for breath. Meanwhile, in Ponyville, a trembling sensation could be felt throughout the town square, putting a lot of ponies that happened to be around on edge. The rumbling and shaking began to increase. Windows cracked, buildings began to creak. Here to the shaking. The shaking became more and more violent as tables and lamps within pony homes began to fall over. Pots and pans crashed into the kitchen, and food from cupboards to refrigerators spilled out. Near the end of the quake, some buildings even fell over and collapsed completely as a large chasm cracked open right through the middle of town. As if the news of the world coming to an end wasn't bad enough, all the ponies in Ponyville began to freak out. Some of them ran around town in their homes, hiding underneath tables and beds, curling up to protect themselves. Daisy ran into the middle of town, putting her hooves up to her cheek. The horror! The horror! And then she faints. Minutes later, the shaking and trembling stopped. Smoke rising from the now wrecked village. Ponies from every corner of the town were crawling out of their hiding places. The town was silent. Finally, one of the ponies dressed in a black robe ran over into the center of town, climbed on the toppled statues of Princess Celestia, and yelled, "Repent for your sins! The end is nigh." I can't pronounce that. The end is nigh. Then the ponies began to run around in a moment of panic, some of them breaking down in the middle of the streets crying, while others ducked away into hiding places waiting to cower. Everything was a mess. Whoa, that was sweet! Twilight cracked her eyes open after catching her breath to see snails standing on the rock in front of her. Her eyes shut open, and then she recoiled, tumbling backwards, falling off the rock. Twilight, really? This is the most powerful unicorn. Is the best and most powerful unicorn in all of Equestria. That was so amazing. I envy you and your awesome power. Spike trotted up, shaking his head, looking over the orchard. That's pretty amazing, Twilight. The fire should burn itself out now. Do you think the other ponies in Ponyville felt that? Twilight shook her head and sat up. Maybe a little. I doubt any serious damage could have been done. That's really funny. I think I could contain it pretty well. She pulled her book over, opening it and looking through the pages, sighing. Now I see why they don't want us to use these spells. They are really dangerous. Hey Twilight, you think I could see more amazing magical spells? You always have been my favorite unicorn. He nuzzled her tail, causing her recoil again. Whatever, something. Snails, really? What are you doing out here anyways? I was following you guys. He blushed. Then I found out when I found out the world was gonna end, I thought, what was I thinking again? He tilted his head upward, scratching it with his hoof, trying to remember what he was following them. Twilight looked back into her book, flipping through some of the pages, whispering over Spike. I know I saw a turn some pony into a frog spell somewhere. What do you think, Spike? Spike chuckled. Well, I think that a snail would suit him better. But that would be pretty funny. Twilight smirked, and her horn glowed. Snail's body began to grow green, and he lifted up into the air. "What's going on? I feel funny." Snail's cryptid. Next thing he knew, his body was stretched into a now shrunk down and balled up into a little green frog with a miniature version of his mane on his head. Spike bawled out, laughing out first, followed by some giggling by Twilight as Snail's